You want 5 minutes for your invitees to join?
No, sir.
They will keep joining.
Okay.
They will keep joining, and because we want to try and maintain 6:30 start time.
So we'll, I'll share my screen just to see whether you have to let me to share the screen, right?
Yes, sir. It's
Yeah.
visible.
Yeah.
1 second, hold on.
Yes. Let's show.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good to go, sir.
So yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So, good evening, Namaskara, and welcome to this edition of The Spiral of Wisdom, which is the satsang that was started by Mamanise many moons ago. So, I'll be your host for today. My name is Ramesh R.K. And before we start off, may I request Swati to say the school prayer.
Good evening, everyone. O hidden light, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. So, since there are some new faces here, just to underline that when we speak about the hidden light shining in every creature, that really is the essence of who we are as a soul. We are divine beings having a human experience, rather than we are human beings having a spiritual experience. So, before I start off, may I request that you all sit straight with our back, neck, and head aligned. Let the prana shakti flow through. As we've come from our experiences of the day, let us enter our inner world by seeking the blessings of the Gurus, today being Guruvara, especially. Please take a nice deep breath. Before we continue, may I request that everybody turns their mic off so that we don't have any disturbance. Thank you. Yeah, please sit straight with your back, neck, and head aligned. Take a nice deep breath. And let go. Observe the silence within. For silence is the language of the soul that links all of us. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Out of Satsang today. And one shloka that I chant before I start off any puja is very appropriate, as I wish you all a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi, a Ganesha shloka. Vakratunda Mahakarya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. May Lord Ganesha remove all our obstacles to us getting the best value in the satsang today. And we also have a very adorable form of Lord Ganesha on our screen today, shared by Kannan K.N. So before we get into the satsang, as we've always been discussing, Hinduism really is a way of life. It as a designer and an IT professional, I can even go so far as to say that it is really a set of best practices that is always current, which uses basic underlying qualities and applies them through the ages in the most appropriate manner. So the satsang today is called Beyond Rituals, Understanding the Essence of Hinduism by Kannan K.N. Just a quick intro about Kannan. Kannan K.N. is a seasoned management professional, chartered accountant, and company secretary with over 30 years of experience. He has held senior leadership roles across renowned organizations, including serving as head of finance at Adidas, India, head of finance, IT and quality at Tata Concord, managing director of Jardine Software, and chief strategy officer and board member of Practo Technologies. Currently, Kannan is the founder and managing trustee of Swapnodaya Charitable Trust, an initiative dedicated to upskilling financially challenged students from Tier 2 colleges in smaller towns and supporting them with placement opportunities. It's amazing. Through this work, he's been instrumental in creating pathways for aspiring youth to achieve professional success. Beyond his corporate and philanthropic contributions, Kannan is deeply passionate about India's civilizational heritage and socio-political evolution. It really got me interested. So his interests span Hindu philosophy, history, and current affairs. He's the author of Hinduism Beneath the Surface, a family's attempt to understand Sanatana Dharma, a beginner-friendly introduction to Hindu philosophy. True to his commitment, Kannan has pledged all earnings from this book to further the mission of Swapnodaya Charitable Trust. That is extraordinary. I'm really eager to hear what you have to say, Kannan, because every satsang I keep mentioning that we really are, Bharat is a space which is blessed, and we really are a civilization in ascent at this point in time. And Sanatana Dharma really is a set of best practices which is relevant all over the world. It can be applied anywhere, and it can absorb local religious practices as well and make it part of its own. That's the beauty of this system that includes everybody, not only people, but all the other sentient beings. So very curious to hear what you have to say. Over to you right away. Namaskara and welcome to the School of Ancient.
Namaskara. Ramesh, thank you so much for that extraordinarily kind introduction. Am I audible? You are able to hear me properly? Are you able to hear me?
Yes,
Crystal
very clear.
clear.
Okay. So thank you once again.
Very much so.
Extremely kind introduction. Thanks everyone else for taking the time out for this presentation and this session. Very good evening to all of you. Let me start by first setting the context of this presentation. So I am a 62-year-old Hindu. Until about my 55th or 56th year, my exposure to Hinduism was restricted to certain rituals which I had got exposed to in my childhood, like chanting some shlokas at home, visiting the neighborhood temple, participating in some pujas on important festivals at home or outside. And it was only about 7-8 years back, I think 2018-19, when I started consuming and assimilating content in the form of books and podcasts by eminent scholars on subjects like Upanishads, Vedanta, commentaries on various interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita, so on and so forth, that it struck me that what I had missed all along, and how much better my life could have been if I had studied and internalized the key messages of Sanatana Dharma philosophy in my 20s and 30s. How much more successful I could have been in my career, in my human relationships, and how much less stressful and anxious and how much more peaceful and joyful this whole journey till now could have been. That said, this presentation is not about what I missed as a young man, but it's more about what I see a significant section of the Hindu youth today, particularly those from, slightly affluent English-educated backgrounds, seem to be missing and losing forever, and how most of us seem to be only watching this unfold in front of us quite helplessly. And also explore whether we as a society can do something to buck this trend. So we will approach this presentation in two sections. In section A, we will speak about why it's critically important for all of us to go beyond rituals, to at least get a basic understanding of the core Hindu philosophy. And in section B, we will try and provide some broad answers to some typically teasing questions which I would say ignorant critics of Hinduism often pose, and which surprisingly most Hindus struggle to answer. And also we'll touch upon some key messages of the Hindu philosophy which will demonstrate why Hinduism is so much more than just being a religion, like Ramesh was saying earlier on. So the world of Hinduism can also be viewed in three parts. There is this religious part, which I spoke about, which consists of rituals, pujas, havans, temple visits, even if you're lighting a diya in your house. And then you have the spiritual part. The spiritual part actually offers us some profound insights, into deeper topics, like what is the purpose of life? How does this universe work? What is the relationship between us and the universe? The functioning of our minds, the mysteries of the mind. This part is very sophisticated and intellectually very stimulating. And then we have the way of life part, which gives us suggested duties, do's and don'ts, ethics, right conduct, all of them designed towards character building, man making, and how to create a harmonious and progressive society. The religious part, could vary from community to community, from geography to geography, often from home to home. The other two parts, though, spiritual and the way of life part, has some truly precious gems which are absolutely timeless. They are as relevant today as they were thousands of years back when they were perhaps first conceived, and likely to be relevant thousands of years hence from here also. Unfortunately, though, there is not much of knowledge about this. This part is almost like a user manual, a toolkit of how you could lead a successful and happy life. And as I said, sadly, most Hindus are ignorant about this. They are content to stay within the comfort of rituals. And in my view, as a consequence, a sizable section of our youth is actually drifting away from Hinduism. Now, just so that you don't get me wrong, I'm not against rituals. I think most of the rituals which are practiced, they have, to the extent that they can give us comfort and security and peace of mind, they are all very useful. I just want to underline the need that there are precious gems if you go beyond the rituals also.
We're not hearing you
Request
clearly.
the participants to mute, please.
Arunji, could you please mute?
Yeah.
Your speaker is on. And Kannanji, your voice is slightly breaking up. I don't know if it's only me or if it is others also.
No, it's clear for us. It's clear for
Then
us.
it's my connection. Okay.
So what is this section of the youth that we are talking about? I live in an upper middle class neighborhood of Bangalore. called Rajaji Nagar, Malleshwaram. I live in an apartment complex which has 1,000+ apartments. And this is a section that I keep bumping into regularly. So how do we profile this? So, this section is typically in its late teens, early 20s, or perhaps even late 20s. And they are products of reputed schools and colleges, reputed educational institutions. And this section is also keen to be seen as modern and liberal. So these are two labels they really like to own. But the problem is that they confuse being Western as being modern. And if you're religious, they would quickly conclude that you have to be very conservative in your thinking. You cannot be liberal in your outlook. So they confuse liberalism with being irreligious, being atheistic. So if you are clad in, say, a dhoti and wearing a tilak, you have no chance of being seen either as modern in your thinking or liberal in your thinking. And this section is also defensive about, their Hindu identity. They are uncomfortable wearing Hindu symbols on their person. And somehow they have got conditioned and programmed to see Hinduism only as patriarchal, where women are not treated properly, exploited, and Hinduism is seen more as regressive and not progressive, full of superstitions. And perhaps most problematically, they feel Hinduism is totally irrelevant in their own life journey. So since they feel it's totally irrelevant, they're utterly disinterested. And when someone is utterly disinterested, it's very difficult to engage with them on the subject. Now, the disconnect of this section with Hinduism is actually growing. And while part of it is organic because, there is increasing westernization across the world, some part of it may also be because of a deliberate social engineering project. I'm speaking about the fast spread of the far left wokeism philosophy, which is spreading through our internet and OTT content. In case you're not, you have not heard of these terms, like what is far left philosophy, what is woke philosophy, I would suggest you Google it. So the philosophy teaches you many things. Amongst that, it also teaches you that it is very uncool to take pride in your cultural, religious, or national identity, or even family identity. So you're discouraged from taking pride in these identities. And this has spread quite fast in the developed world, especially North America and Western Europe. And it is now sneaking into India through some of our elite and good English medium schools. And also, like I said, through internet and OTT platforms. In fact, it has caused great discomfort amongst parents of school and college going children in places like California and Western Europe, where, especially parents who want to retain some sort of tradition and family values within their households. Now, we can ask the question that why should all this really bother us? Because after all, our lives may well be going on fine. And even in the developed West, in North America, in Western Europe, people are increasingly moving away from religion. In fact, one of the recent surveys said that the fastest growing religion in North America and Western Europe is quote unquote no religion. So if some section of our youth is following suit, what is the big deal? Why should we bother about this? We could well ask that question. I feel that's extremely flawed thinking, because what we are at risk of losing here is not just a religion. It's something much bigger than a religion. Something which could be a ticket to our success and happiness, not only in our lives, but also in the lives of our future generations. So something truly precious may be getting lost forever to our children, grandchildren, and near and dear ones. And if you're not vigilant enough, you may not notice it could well be happening in your close circles, within your family circles, and if you're not very well connected to the youngsters in your family. And I see that this trend amongst this section that I'm talking about is likely to worsen progressively. And over the next couple of decades, I see this impacting our social and cultural fabric significantly in ways that we will not like. And one outcome that we are almost certain to see is quite a few Hindu youngsters in our upper middle class society may be faced with what I call an identity crisis, where they are unsure about where they really belong, and they are struggling to fit into certain other groups. Now, let me elaborate. This is something I noticed during my visits to the US and Europe over the last 2 or 3 years, where when I interacted with quite a few Hindu youngsters who are there either pursuing their higher studies or doing a job and pursuing their career. And what I found amongst them was that they were very keen to play down their Indian identity, even more so their Hindu identity, and they were really trying to win acceptance amongst the locals. And that acceptance was not coming easily. And that is such a sad mindset to be in, because when you're in the grip of such a defensive mindset, you're very likely to end up as an obedient follower rather than a confident leader. So this could, damage the society in the days to come. So how do we see this problem? Is it something we can do something about? Or are we ourselves a part of this problem? For this, I have a quick check. So let me present some sample questions which critics of Hinduism often pose, and which surprisingly most Hindus struggle to answer. If you can answer these questions logically in a convincing manner, then you're fine. But if you cannot, you're certainly a part of the problem. So questions like, how can Hindus believe in the concept of multiple gods? Do we really believe that there is a world of gods out there where there are a lot of gods interacting with each other? And how can the Hindu imagination of God be so unreal? Elephant head on a human body, man with 10 heads. Seriously? And then we see, Hindu gods are presented as though they marry amongst themselves, they produce children, they die like human beings. Is that not weird? And what about the Hindu practice of giving gifts to gods? Are our gods corrupt? You give them a coconut and the god will grant you your wish? And leave all this aside. What about caste? Does Hinduism not discriminate between people based on caste? And then perhaps the most important question. Okay, how is Hinduism relevant in our lives? How is it relevant in our quest for success and happiness? Now, these questions pertain to very elementary aspects of the Hindu philosophy. And if we are unable to answer this logically, it means that we have not even started taking our first baby steps to understanding Hindu philosophy. But, we are not entirely to blame for this, because right from childhood, our exposure to Hinduism has been only through rituals like, pujas and temple visits and so on and so forth. For generations, not only today's generation, even the previous, my generation and a few generations before, 80-90% of Hindus have neglected getting into Hinduism's deeper philosophy. And there is a reason for this, because while today we may be a middle income country, till recently, a few decades back, if we go before the economic liberalization of 1990s, we were, thanks to the colonial rule, we were a highly impoverished society with very few opportunities, and the focus was overwhelmingly on finding livelihoods. And there was just no time or space for deep thought and philosophy. Now, let me give you my own example. I was born into a family of 10 members, me, my parents, and 7 siblings, all of them sisters. My father worked in a private firm, did reasonably well, but poor man, he struggled to give us anything more than basics. And it was clear to me from very early on that he could not have afforded my admission into a medical or engineering college. So I realized that the only way I can get professionally qualified is by being a chartered accountant or CA, because the CA program was very inexpensive. But the flip side was that the success rate was very, very low. Only 4 or 5 out of 100 would clear the CA exams. So imagine my state of mind before every exam. I was petrified, as if it's do or die for me. And in that fearful state, when my mother would tell me, go to the nearby temple or chant this shloka, I would accept it without any questions. So almost every ritual or religious practice that came my way during that phase, I accepted without any questions. So religious rituals actually served as crutches to handle our fears and insecurities. That situation has changed. The insecurities are much lesser for today's youth, and the need for crutches is also much less, especially in the slightly affluent sections of our society. So how should we understand the environment in which today's youth finds itself in? In most households, I would say middle class, upper middle class and above, the core basics like basic food, basic shelter, basic clothing, etc. is already taken care of considerably for most young people. And the career options are far more. So naturally, the insecurities are less. And when you're confident, you're secure, what happens? You look for logic and relevance, and you reject anything that does not make sense to you. So rejection rates are very high. And what's also happened is, it's become a globalized world. Internet has made the whole world into a village. For example, it's not uncommon for me these days when a North Indian friend of mine calls me to check whether I have seen the latest Mohanlal movie. This was inconceivable 10 or 20 years back. So the world has become a village. And so cultural lines have blurred. And then what I spoke about earlier, the far left woke friendly content, which is getting fed to our youth through internet and OTT platforms. So in this situation, when we have to engage our youth, we need reason more than rituals. So let us sum up section A. Why do we need, all of us need to go beyond rituals and at least get a basic hang of the Hindu philosophy, the core Sanatana Dharma philosophy? Because the questions which I posed, or there could be more questions like that, these are all valid and legitimate questions. They merit credible answers, proper answers. We can't just brush them under the carpet. If you do that, then you come across as illogical to the youth of today. And these questions can come from anyone, from your near and dear ones today and from your children and grandchildren tomorrow. And if you are a practicing Hindu, if you're doing anything, even like simple things like lighting a diya in your puja every day or visiting the nearby temple, but cannot answer these questions convincingly, then whatever you are practicing comes across as mere superstition to people who are watching you. Then you become a bad example. The youth feels you are regressive, superstitious, illiberal, bigoted, and that's how you become part of the problem, contributing to the decline of Hinduism, not only in your families, but also in our society. And this is so ironic because if you read our scriptures, like Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, it's all in question answer form between a student and a teacher, and often the student disagrees with the teacher. So they seem to almost urge all of us to become questioning seekers rather than blind followers. But unfortunately, when we prefer the comfort of blind faith as opposed to the challenge of being a questioning seeker, we are weakening the very tradition that we wish to preserve. So that's section A for you. We will now move to section B. And in section B, we will try and provide some broad answers because we don't have the time for detailed discussions, broad answers to some of those teasing questions, which I said critics of Hinduism often pose and which surprisingly Hindus struggle to answer. And also we'll touch upon some messages which will demonstrate why Hinduism is far bigger than just a mere religion. So we'll start with this question. Now, how can Hindus accept the concept of multiple gods? As if, there's a separate world of gods out there. This is actually wrong. At its core, the Hindu philosophy speaks of one supreme, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient God called Brahman, who is formless. But the problem with a formless God is that common folks like you and me cannot relate to a formless God. We need the forms to connect with the divine. And this is particularly useful in the early initial stages of a person's spiritual journey. A truly evolved spiritual person may not require the forms anymore in his journey. And then these forms also help in bhakti marga. So let me explain. According to Hinduism, the purpose of life is to attain a state of bliss or ananda, which is a state of ultimate and lasting happiness, inner peace and joy, which cannot easily be shaken by any external event or external trigger. And one of the paths Hinduism recommends you can use to reach that state of bliss is the path of bhakti or pure and selfless love. The problem with pure and selfless love is it's not very easy. Most human beings are not capable of pure and selfless love. In fact, almost in all our relationships, there is some give and take. If you take away that give and take from any relationship, even some relationships that we consider very close may actually collapse. That's a disturbing thought. But the good news is that our scriptures say that you can actually train yourself to become capable of pure and selfless love. And that is where bhakti marga, bhakti, which is the ultimate stage of love, that is where bhakti marga and bhakti yoga come into play. In fact, the Hindu concept of Ishta Devata or personal God is so unique, where you choose a form that appeals to you, whose stories appeal to you the most, and then you gradually nurture and grow your love for it through using various bhakti marg techniques. That said, all this does not change the core message of Hinduism that God is one. In fact, the Upanishads are very clear. Ekam sat vipara bahuda vadanti, which loosely translates to God is one, and there could be many paths of reaching that one God. Let us look at the next question. Now, why is the Hindu imagination of God so unreal, like elephant's head on a human body? See, these fantastic forms and the even more fantastic stories help even children develop love for their Ishta Devata and personal gods. Right from childhood, it's easy to initiate even children into this journey. Tell me which child would not love to hear those fantastic stories about Lord Krishna, a young Krishna fighting the demon snake, an anaconda inside the ocean, or lifting a hill on his little finger, or vanquishing the evil Kamsa. So most of us fall in love with these stories and these forms at a very early stage in our life, and that love actually grows with age. And to this limited extent, this is not very different from adults loving Superman and Batman movies, even though they are so unreal, because many adults today have consumed comic strips involving Batman and Superman in their childhood and had fallen in love with these characters even as school-going children, and that love has remained. So at a broad level, the forms and the stories help us to feel deeper love and connection with the divine. And what about this Hindu concept of offering gifts to God? Are our gods corrupt? Now let us get this clear. Gifts and offerings to God are meant to be given out of love, not as a transaction. So when a parent gives gifts the child either for motivation or reward, do we call it corruption? Or we say it's given out of affection or for encouragement? Likewise, when the child grows up to be successful and gives something back to the parent, do we call it corruption or given out of love and gratitude? And how do mothers express their love for their children, for their young children? They bathe the child, they bathe the baby, they dress it up, they feed the child. The same way, what we do to the idols, we bathe the idols, we decorate the idols, we offer food to the idols. They are all expressions of love and devotion. And these offerings are meant to cultivate and grow the emotion of pure and selfless love within us. It is for our inner transformation. That said, like in most cases, some people, either out of ignorance or vested interest, might not have imbibed this spirit, and they may be distorting this practice. So if you study the Hindu philosophy, you will understand that offerings to God are not about transaction between you and God. It is more about your own inner transformation and to make you capable of pure and selfless love. Then we had the question, look, how can gods marry amongst themselves, produce children, be like humans? So it's more or less similar answer. See, the Hindu scriptures are vast. At the very top, you have the Upanishads and Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita, which always speak about that one formless God or Brahman. But then you also have the Puranas. The Puranas are the ones which narrate wonderful stories about the various gods, and they humanize God so that even common people can connect with the divine. And like I said earlier, all these stories help in practice of bhakti. There's another concept here. Hindus believe in the concept of avatars, which is the concept of incarnations of God. Basically, the concept says that when evil in society crosses a particular threshold, God takes the form of a human being, vanquishes the evil to restore the balance. So, as per our philosophy, avatars are quote unquote humans who put an end to great evils, deliver major reforms, like Gautam Buddha is revered by many Hindus as an avatar of Lord Vishnu. And avatars overcome impossible odds and challenges in ways that defy logic. So much so that people feel that they cannot be just human beings. In fact, both Rama and Krishna have been described as avatars, and both Ramayana and Mahabharata, very interestingly, have been classified in our scriptures as itihasa or history, not as fiction. So we need to understand that the stories are deeply symbolic. They carry powerful messages. Not all of them always need to be taken literally. And then what about caste? Does Hinduism not discriminate between people based on caste? If you study the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, you will agree with me that the original intention of the Varna system, the caste system, seems more to steer people into occupations and professions they are most suited to based on their qualities and nature, innate nature, gunas and prakriti. For example, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 13, specifically says that Varna is based on one's qualities and actions. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse 18, says that there should be no hierarchy between the Varnas. Nothing is superior or inferior. All of them have to be viewed equally. Mahabharata goes one step further, says birth and ancestry cannot be the basis for determining caste. That said, over time, vested interests have distorted, twisted, used, abused, misused this practice to further certain privileges they were enjoying across future generations without discharging their duties. And that has definitely resulted in discrimination. And this area needed reforms. Quite a bit of reforms have been done. More needs to be done. So my view is the philosophy does not support discrimination. Its misinterpretation and misuse does. And finally, the more important question, how is, okay, all this is fine. How is Hinduism relevant in our lives, in our quest for success and happiness? After all, what do we all want? We all do not want misery or dukkha. We all want happiness or sukha. So, can Hinduism help us stay happy? 100%, absolutely. According to Hinduism, your ticket to happiness is by mastering your mind. And the mismanagement of your mind is the main reason for all your miseries, your ill health, your failures. In fact, I tell you, this is borne out, at least in my own journey when I look back. You know, in my life, I've had a few hits and successes, as well as several flops and misses. And when I analyze those flops and misses where I fell short of expectations, almost always it was because I could not manage my mind properly in a given set of circumstances. Hinduism emphasizes the need to work on our minds, and through specific techniques like meditation and mindfulness, which is referred to as Sakshi Bhava, or witnessing the mind. This is very interesting because today mindfulness is such a big thing in almost all Fortune 500 companies, be it Google, SAP, LinkedIn, Salesforce, Ford. They all have mindfulness workshop. They believe enhanced mindfulness results in a more harmonious work environment, more productive work environment. And when you read our scriptures and realize that the concept of mindfulness was thought about and analyzed in so much detail by our forefathers thousands of years back, you can't help feeling a sense of pride. The Hindu philosophy makes a clear distinction between mind or manas and intellect or buddhi. Mind is a seat for heightened emotions, high excitement, anger, ego, jealousy, arrogance, whereas intellect helps you distance yourself from this place of high emotion, evaluate things with a calm mind, and discriminate between what is right and wrong in any given situation. And no wonder Hinduism says it is the intellect that should control the mind and not the other way around. So what is the prescription of Hindu philosophy for success and happiness? An alert intellect with a calm mind. That is a magic formula. And like in all other aspects, the Hindu philosophy does not stop with just giving you a prescription. It gives you an array of techniques to reach that state of an alert intellect and a calm mind. So Hinduism is clearly not just a religion. It's a science of the mind. Let us explore it through one more slide. Some key messages from our scriptures. According to Hinduism, the purpose of life, like I said earlier, is to attain a state of bliss or ananda, which is a state of ultimate and lasting happiness, inner happiness and peace, which cannot be disturbed by anything external. So Hinduism says that your happiness comes from within you, depends only on you, and not on anything external. So that message is actually very empowering. Like I said earlier, mastering your mind is the single biggest factor behind your success and happiness. And what does the karma theory teach us? That we shape our future. If our past actions have shaped our present, it's only logical that our today's actions will shape our tomorrow. So in essence, we shape our tomorrow. That again is a very empowering message. And the Maya theory, what does it say? That don't go by hearsay, don't go by what meets the eye, peel the layers, get into the depth for all your decisions. And then I would like to highlight verses 1 to 4 in chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita. We speak of 26 good qualities a human being should have and 5 bad qualities a human should avoid. And what is really remarkable about these 31 qualities, 26 good plus 5 bad, are that there is hardly anything to do with God and religion. They are all about man-making, character building, and how, obviously this could result in a harmonious, productive, and progressive society. And that's why we say that Hinduism is not just a religion, it's a manual for happy living. And most importantly, what I want to highlight, we started off by saying that it's so important for Hindus to go beyond rituals. In fact, our scriptures clearly ask us to be more questioning, to be seekers rather than blind believers. In this context, I would like to highlight verse 63 from chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita, which goes like this: Iti te jnanamakyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrsheta dasheshena yathechasi tatakuru. So this comes towards the end of the Gita, where after having shared absolutely the most precious and priceless wisdom about life and universe with Arjuna, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, hey Arjuna, what I have shared with you is the rarest of rare wisdom. Now think about it deeply, reflect on it. And then he comes with that punchline. He says, Yathechasi tathakuru, or Yatha ichchasi tathakuru, which means do as you deem fit. Just consider the beauty of this verse. Even the God in Hinduism does not expect Arjuna, a mere human, to follow his advice blindly. He says, I have told you what I think is right, but now you think about it and do as you deem right. In fact, I doubt whether you will come across a more liberal thought or more liberal value in any religious text anywhere in the world. So this timeless, precious wisdom, it's important for all of us to do something that is not lost to the world. And we should all do our bit, and it will certainly add up. And what can one say about the Bhagavad Gita? There's so many interpretations. Each interpretation gives us priceless gems. So, suggested next steps at the end of the presentation. What do I suggest? I really urge everybody to go beyond rituals. At least get an elementary idea of the underlying philosophy of Hinduism. And start engaging with questioning minds. Let us not shirk the questions. What happens is these questions can actually challenge us, they can make us more curious, go back to the books, and it'll only hasten our learning process. But most importantly, start your own journey of seeking and knowing. Every step, however small, is a small ticket to your success and happiness. So start the journey, ask the questions, discover the depth. And to help a beginner get off to a good start, please allow me, with all my humility, to present my humble offering, which is my book titled Hinduism Beneath the Surface, a family's attempt to understand Sanatana Dharma. The book is designed to act as a basic introduction to beginners and young adults into the world of Hindu philosophy, going beyond rituals. And a lot of people find books on philosophy a bit dry, difficult to read. So in my humble attempt to make it an easier read, I have used the context of conversations within a modern Hindu family for each topic. This is available on Amazon. So with that, we come to the end of my presentation. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. And I don't know, maybe Ramesh and Swati should tell whether we have some time for a quick Q&A. So I hand it back to Swati and Ramesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamath. That was amazing. Actually, yes, we very much have time for a Q&A, not even a very quick one. In fact, what you have presented to us is something that probably the essence of which should have been taught in our schools. In fact, I think it was being taught before, during the 1700s, till the Gurukul systems were dismantled. And that's why we are all, by design of a country's karma, which was the colonial system, by design, we were removed from our own heritage, this kind of knowledge, and now it's slowly coming back. So lots of questions, I'm sure, would be there, or they should be there. So now I would like to throw open the floor to the questions. Those of you who have questions, please do ask.
I have one, Ramesh. Sir,
please
you
do
are
ask.
very appropriately, your parents have named you Kannan, and presentation was excellent.
Thank you.
And my only query is, perhaps you didn't touch upon the gunas, which are a very unique thing in Hinduism. And of course, you touched upon the caste, but then basically based on gunas also. So
Yes.
would you like to say something about that? And your book, I'm sure, will be covering that.
Yeah. Are you referring to Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva?
That's right. Correct.
Yeah. So basically, our philosophy says that we all have an innate nature, which has been or prakriti, which is a combination of three gunas, tamas, rajas, and sattva, in different proportions. And it is only the proportion. Every human being has all these three qualities in varying proportions. It's only the proportion that varies. And we bring that, our guna, our prakriti is shaped by our cumulative experience, not only in this life, but all previous births. So, human beings are programmed to act based on their innate prakriti. So the challenge in our life is, even the wise men who know what is right and wrong often fall prey to their own prakriti. The challenge is to have an alert intellect that keeps a watch on your prakriti and which direction your prakriti is taking you. And if it is the wrong direction, to step in and stop it. So yeah, I think we can have a detailed presentation on gunas alone. So I don't know whether that sort of answers your question, but we need to have it's such a vast topic, gunas, we can have a very detailed discussion on it.
Yeah, that is helpful. I understand that, because that is a vast subject by itself. And
Yeah.
similarly, the karma aspect, which only Hindu faiths talks about, Indian faiths, rather Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. So to what extent it is covered in your book? Karma?
Yeah, karma theory is covered. Basically the idea is to get people started on this journey. The idea is if people get a basic idea, then each person can pursue further based on his own interests. Otherwise, the world of Hindu philosophy is so vast, it can easily intimidate a beginner. Like, where should I start? What should I study?
Okay, what is essential for them, you have covered.
So
Thank
I
you.
have tried to give structure it in a manner that somebody can read it and get an idea as in which direction their future studies can go. Or at least the book will give you a basic idea of what our philosophy is all about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a very nice question. So I think Janaki Ram uncle had also mentioned that his name is very appropriate. I quickly Googled it and I found that Kannan means a person who's a friend or a teacher, somebody who disseminates this kind of information, and really, I mean, very apt. So for those who are too shy to speak up, the chat box is always there. Please do post your questions there. And Jasmine Ji says, thank you for a wonderful, inspiring talk. Very grateful. So we must
Namaste, sir.
also. Ramamani Ji, please ask.
Yeah, namaste. Namaste, sir. I just wanted to say, like, in the Hinduism and all we are talking about, the basic problem I feel is those who know properly are not ready to talk. Because I have met across so many people who know much about like the science behind each ritual or science behind everything, whatever we are doing. And when I ask them, why are you not like telling or, writing a book or something like that, they just simply said, nobody is interested to listen to me. And second thing, they said, you have to seek everything, we cannot like learn because it is vast. Like if you just say take Bhagavad Gita, you need like so many days to understand each and everything, every rim of that as it is. So what's your say on that, sir?
See, people are generally scared of the unknown, and so the fear that it's too vast and all is a little overstated. It is indeed very vast, but it's like cycling or swimming. Till you jump into it yourself, you cannot learn. So there's so much material, even for beginners. So if I think it's important to embark on a personal journey of seeking and knowing. There is enough material for you to get started. For example, there must be thousands of books on Bhagavad Gita, even books interpreted for the benefit of beginners. You could pick up any of them, and it'll start you. And once you get started, and once you get to this science, it's almost like the Hindu philosophy is almost like a science. You'll get hooked onto it, and you will start relating it with your own life, saying that, okay, in this situation I did like this. If I had thought like this, I might have done it better. So I think if you take your initial few steps, you will get deeply interested, and then nobody will be able to stop you. Is that
I hope that answers.
does that answer your question?
Yeah, basically, I feel like we need some sort of a coffee book on Hinduism so that everybody can read and something like that. I'm already in the process of that, whatever learning. My basic thing was that, like people who know should tell others also. And the main drawback out of it is like nobody is listening to anybody. That's a whole context. They're all busy in the social media. So we need to just equip or do some change in that. That's what I was expecting. Thank you.
Yeah. So like Gandhiji said,
I
let's
think,
be the change we want to see in others.
yes. In fact, I can probably say that your coffee book has been presented to you today, Ramamani Ji. It's called Hinduism Beneath the Surface.
Yes, I'll just go through it. Thank you.
Most welcome. So I have quite a few questions, but before I ask, would anybody else like to ask questions? Please do so now. Okay. So, Kananji, first of all, whatever you spoke is amazing. I'm just curious to know, how did you get started off? Because I truly believe that Hinduism is an advanced level science. The philosophy that it follows is based on perception that is beyond the five senses. And therefore, modern science generally doesn't cover the sixth and other senses that probably come from being a jnani, a person who's a seeker who acquires the ability to perceive those senses. But it's very much true and it's very much real and it's very practical as well, but one has to be at that level. So it's not just like a science. For me, it is a science. We just have to learn to crack the code. So I believe the easiest way is to practice. Okay, bhakti is an amazing way, of course. One is gifted with a self-learned ability to love. But if we talk about dharma, where if you just practice something as simple as cleanliness, wholeheartedly you start keeping your place around you clean, then along with that austerity, mercy, and truth follow in the right time at the right place. So is that one line of thought which could work on supporting people to discover what the essence of Hinduism is?
Your audio is little interrupted. Just repeat, what did you say? After bhakti, you said bhakti is a great mark, and what did you follow it up with saying?
I said bhakti is wonderful for those who have somehow discovered the self trained ability to love. But for others, when we talk about dharma, an easy way to start experiencing the philosophy, this high level science we call Hinduism, which I personally see as a set of practices, best practices. Now, one effective, simple way is to start being clean, to keep the place around you clean wholeheartedly. Like when you get up in the morning, you make the bed, you clean your body, you clean the spaces around you in such a way that wherever you go, you leave the place at least as clean or cleaner than before the way you found it. This itself will start attracting the other good qualities of dharma, that is cleanliness, austerity, mercy, and truth. So austerity, mercy, truth also to find their way into your system simply by following such a practice.
See, hygiene and
So as
structure,
per your
cleanliness is
yeah,
very much part of the do's and don'ts suggested by Hinduism in the form of yamas and niyamas. The yamas and niyamas rank
right,
hygiene and cleanliness very high. So yeah, at a broader level, when you're speaking about how to advance spiritually, um, the Bhagavad Gita has beautifully structured it into 4 parts. The Bhakti Marg, then you have the Karma Yoga path, where if if you can find a purpose in service, you can dedicate and surrender yourself totally to service, correct? Or you have the Jnana Yoga path, where you are just extremely curious
right,
and you gain more and more knowledge till you reach the final truth. And finally, you have the Raja Yoga path, which is like you shut yourself off and start working on your mind like a workman like approach, deep meditation work, and just master your mind. So there are so many techniques. In fact, most of us tend to practice a little bit of everything in the beginning, but in our journey at some stage, uh, one of the 4 paths, either bhakti yoga, karma yoga, raja yoga, or jnana yoga, one of them takes over as your primary path. And see, simple things, right? We say selfless service, karma yoga. Let's say you're a man of action and you feel that, look, my nature, my prakriti is action. And so I want to pick karma yoga. Now, selflessness in action is very, very difficult. But the good thing which our scriptures teach us is you can practice everything, even selflessness. You know, it could be your nature that even if you do a small help to others, you like to tom about it or tell the whole world. But you start doing something to somebody and don't tell anybody. That is you're practicing how to be selfless. So if you're saying that you can train yourself even to become capable of pure love and selfless love, you can train even your emotion of love, then you can pretty much train everything. So just like physical exercise can build your body, there are so many mental exercises which Hinduism tells you to do that you can change your basic orientation and how your mind is wired. The whole thing is, how to get rid of this feeling of I-ness, the ego, and rise above that. And when it is too short a time to discuss that in detail, but basically when you are able to overcome your ego, your feeling of I-ness, you feel one with the universe. You stop seeing differences. And when you feel one with the universe, you feel only love. You don't have any negative emotion for anybody. And when there is no negative emotion in you, you gain deep inner peace, which cannot easily be disturbed by any external event. So it's all sort of connected. Now, when you understand that the purpose of life is to attain a state of bliss or ananda, deep inner peace and joy, which cannot be affected by external events. There are many ways to reach that. And Hinduism clearly says you can take path 1 or path 2 or path 3 or path 4. And you can also do your experiments within these paths. That is the beauty of Hinduism. It gives you so much scope for being creative. Like you said, you find joy in just keeping your surroundings clean. And, that is one way. So I know many senior executives who go to slums and clean up with their own hands. And they feel that that's one way of overcoming their ego.
In fact, I'm coming
surrendering their
coming, yes, that is one of the factors. I'm coming from the premise that what is there in the outside world around you is a reflection of what is there within. So when you start cleaning the spaces around you as a, with full tripti, as a kind of expression of who you are as a person, the inner mind and the inner space, the intellect also gets cleaned to a point where we attract the right kind of people, the right kind of situations, the right kind of books that will take us forward in our growth. What would you say?
If it works for you, why not? I think at the end of the day, this journey is deeply personal.
Very true.
Correct? So the goal is the same. It's just an extension of there's one truth, but several ways to reach it. Ekam sat vipara bahuda vadanti. So, if it works for you and you're feeling that you're able to gain peace through a particular act, and why not? So, great. I have a hard stop at 7:45. I have 6 more minutes. I have a Google Meet at 8 with respect to my work for which I need to prepare. So, we can use the next 6 minutes. If you allow me, you should allow me to log out at 7:45. I hope that's okay with you.
Certainly.
Ramesh.
Certainly. Kannan. So, yeah, people have been thanking you on the chat, Ramamani ji as well, apart from Jasmine ji. So I think we'll draw to a close now. If there are any more questions anybody else has, please do ask now. Or we've come to the end of our satsang, where we get to the Loka Samasta. Okay, so it looks like we've just completed all our questions. So from the School of Ancient, on behalf of the School of Ancient Wisdom, Kannan ji, deeply grateful for this amazing topic. I think this is something that really people should. Your book is something I'm going to definitely spread this awareness about your book. I'm going to read it first myself. So this is something that I think is a symptom of a civilization in ascent, which is what Bharat is at the moment. Sanatana Dharma. We can't even claim that it is ours. It belongs to the whole world. The Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept, and you've really opened our eyes to maybe a glimpse of the precious knowledge and the awareness that can take humanity forward to a more prosperous and joyful future for the world at large. So thank you for opening us up.
Thank you.
So now let's do the Loka Samasta before we close the satsang. Please sit straight with your back, neck and head aligned. Let the prana shakti flow through properly. another scientific aspect of Hinduism. Now, the beauty of a collective prayer like this is that it becomes a lot more powerful. I practically experience myself. Please think of your loved ones, people in your community who might need these prayers. It could be in the areas of health, in the areas of money, in the areas of relationship, main areas where many of us go through our major karmic lessons. Could be other areas as well. Also, please send out thoughts of peace, love, and wisdom and truth to the world at large. Let us overcome this trying phase before the wonderful new era comes in, where the world seems to be at war with between people, war between people and nature, and so on. Such thoughts are very important at the moment. Please sit straight with your back, neck, and head aligned, and remember those loved ones and the world at large. Take a nice deep breath. And let go. Observe the silence within. The language of the soul that connects all of us. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu. Once again, thank you, Kannan ji. Till
Very
next
much.
Thursday, same time, same place. Most welcome.
Thank
So
you.
till next Thursday, same time, same place. Please do
Thank you, Brother
with your loved
Ramesh.
ones as well.
Good night.
Thank you, Jasmine ji. Good night and God bless.
Right.